Hi, this is Faith, and you are watching The Faith Factor. Holla. All right. Good morning again. This is The Faith Factor, and you are watching my series, A Better Class of Women. And I am so happy, so very happy to be with you today. And this is about maybe I would say the fourth or fifth video in this series. And I wanted to go ahead and start off by saying thank you to everyone who is supporting this series. And I am hoping that by the end of the series, you will have the tools to be a better class of women. And this is one size fit all. So it doesn't matter about what size you are. It doesn't matter about colorism. It doesn't matter about any of those things. Being a better class of woman starts from the inside and it works its way outward. So we're going to go ahead on this channel and we're going to work on the inner woman. There are plenty of other channels that will show you how to dress, show you how to put your makeup on, but there aren't enough channels that will show you how to heal yourself from inside out and be that better class of woman deep within. So this is the channel where you are going to learn these tools. So I know you see the title of the video today. Today's subject is going to be about setting healthy standards and boundaries and why you need to, the importance of doing this. Ladies, classy ladies have standards unapologetically, and we set boundaries. Now, real quick, before I go into my spiel, I want to go ahead and do a quick recap of what we learned so far from the previous lessons. Now, in previous lessons, we learned about validation. We learned about the fact that we need more inner validation than we do outward validation. Outward validation is validation that you get from others, like your mother, your father, your family. Is something that you initially get when you're a kid from your family, friends, and loved ones. And then you get additional outward validation from other people. So outward validation should be approximately, I would say 30% of what you look for. But 70% should be you validating yourself. Inner validation. You should have more inner validation for yourself than you do outward validation for what you look for in others. Outward validation is important because we don't want to be walking around here delusional, right? But inner validation is even more important. It's even more important that you know how to validate yourself. And there is a difference between good validation and negative validation. So we go and further break that down. Good validation is what you get from people that praise the good things that you do, the positive things. Negative validation is when people are praising you for doing toxic stuff. Like you're sitting up here and you're putting somebody down, cursing somebody out, being a bully, and you're getting negative validation from other people for doing that. So you walk around thinking that it's okay. As Black people, we tend to get a lot of negative validation from our environment. So that is the reason why we have to be able to discern the difference between good validation and negative validation. Negative validation pretty much puts that battery in your back to continue to do bad things that will come back to bite you in the ass later in life. So you got to nip that in the bud early on and recognize when somebody is giving you negative validation. Negative validation can also be if you're walking outside the house and you got all your lady parts showing. Men are really good for giving women negative validation in this way because they like to see the freak show. But good validation is when you have on a cute outfit. It might be form fitting. You might, they can still see your curvy figure, but you're not your lady parts are not hanging all out. You actually have on a very cute, very well put together outfit, and you get good validation for being able to pull that off. So once again, knowing the difference between good validation and negative validation is vital and key to becoming a better class of woman. Also, we talked about being a lady does not equal being a doormat. Now, there are a lot of people that will try to take advantage of the fact that you are a classy lady, that you carry yourself with a certain poise, that you speak eloquently, that you're not a woman that like to curse a lot. You like to hold your composure. And some people will look at that and believe that you are a doormat or a soft target. Being a lady does not equal doormat. Like I said, there is a time and a place for everything. So absolutely, ladies can stand up for themselves. There is no class in being a doormat. Even the classy lady knows how to defend herself, and she knows when it is the time and the place to take them earrings off and tie their hair up in a bun. So you don't let the smooth taste, don't let them let the smooth taste fool them. There's a time and a place for everything. So there are different ways that you can stand up for yourself. You can stand up for yourself in a nice, nasty way and, get people off of you that way. That's the more classy send off. And sometimes you have to cuss a motherfucker out. Sometimes it's not the go-to thing all the time. But if you have exhausted, being classy about it, sometimes you do have to take them earrings off and tie that hair up in a bun. And you don't lose any lady points for doing that. Also, we talked about how it is important to be a proud lady. In this day and age, we have a lot of people shaming classy women for being classy and carrying themselves like a lady. The lady is always put down, kind of like the educated lame, or the man that carries himself with class. They call them lames. Kind of like how a lot of men, refer to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a very good example of a man who carries himself with a certain amount of class and poise. Well, the Pookies and Ray Rays, they can't identify with his class and his poise, and they don't see themselves having that. So they make fun of him and they call him a lame. And they try to shame other men from being like that. Russell Wilson is a family man. He is an honorable man. He is a man who values marriage. He is a man that understands the importance of being a leader, a true leader. And he carries himself like a man. He's not walking around here with his pants hanging all down and you can see his underwear. He dresses like a man. Russell Wilson would be a person that when you see him, you respect him. And so his female counterpart would be a lady. Same concept. See, there are women who are what you would call more on the ratchet side, the ghetto side, the Bunquishas. So you got the Pookie and Ray Rays, and the counterpart of Pookie and Ray Ray would be the Bunquishas. Now the Bunquishas will say that the lady is lame, that the lady isn't as good as she is because the lady does not put her body up for sale. The lady is not trying to conquer the world with her vagina. The lady knows how to walk out of the house nicely dressed, makeup done nicely, it's not overdone. Ladies do not overdo things. Hair looking good, on point. And the lady always keeps herself up. And she carries herself with her head held high, but she is not walking around here with a unrealistic sense of entitlement. And so you will get the Boomquishas who don't understand the lady, just like the Pookie and Ray Rays don't understand the classy man. And because they don't understand it, they will try to ridicule and tear it down. The classy lady is proud to be a lady, unapologetic about it. She's courageous, and she knows how to separate herself from the ratchets. And she does so unapologetically. The lady has the courage to be disliked. She's not a people pleaser. So now, while she is thoughtful of others, she knows the difference between being thoughtful of others and others who are not respecting her. The lady understands that respect is a two-way street. So therefore, she has the courage to be disliked. She's unapologetic about who she is, and she is not a people pleaser. The last thing that we touched on, and I'm just doing a quick recap of things that we should have already gotten from this series. I spoke to single mothers. I basically told single mothers that while your children are young, your focus should be on being a mother and not so much on finding a man. As a single mother, put all of your energy and time into doing that, being a mother. Put all of your energy and time into building yourself up, whether it be getting a degree, whether it be expanding your social circle, whether it be getting contacts with people who will enrich your life and add value. But pour all of your energy and time into being a mother and raising your children to be the best people that they can be. Raise your children to be independent and leave the nest. I also told single mothers that you need to learn this one word: acceptance. You have to really, really embrace acceptance. Accept the fact that when you do date as a single mother with small children, your dating should be casual, and not only that, but you have to accept the fact that majority of the men that you date may not take you seriously because you are a single parent. And it's real important. This is not a knock on you as a person. This is me telling you what the majority of the outside world of men think of you. And so, therefore, you do not take them seriously, not while your children are young. Don't never bring any of them to your home. Any men that you're dating, they should not know your address. You should always be meeting them somewhere, or they should be picking you up somewhere away from your home. And you go out, you have your fun, and you set your standard and your boundary to just that while your children are young. Do not date with the specific purpose of finding a man while you have young children in the house. That is my advice. Now, you don't have to take it, but I'm telling you that is better because it gets greater later. If you raise your children to be independent and leave the nest, then you date with a purpose after you have done your job with raising your children. Because the men that come into your life while you're in a home by yourself, you have an empty nest, they will take you more serious because they see that you don't have any children. And furthermore, they see that you were very successful in raising the ones that you had. And so when you sit down and have the conversation about, oh, wow, you seem like you got it going on, because all this time that you were raising your children, you were also working on yourself. You were working on cultivating yourself. So now this man comes in and sees a whole woman who has cultivated herself, who has her own thing going on, and he's impressed with that. And you don't have any kids running around cramping that style. They don't see that. So they are going to take you more serious later on after you have raised your children. And that has been my experience. So you can take that, do what you will. So that's the recap. So like I said, today we're going to talk about standards and boundaries and why it's important to have those standards and boundaries. Classy women always set standards and boundaries, and there's a difference between a standard and a difference between a boundary. Let me go ahead and get my banner together, because this is going to be a good bullet point. But a standard, hold on a second. What am I doing here? Oh, I accidentally let me cancel that. I accidentally started screen sharing, didn't want to. Okay, but I don't think anything popped up on my screen. So there we go. Okay, I wanted to create my banner. Now, a standard, what the hell? I keep on what's going on with my computer? Cancel, please. All right, try this one more time. Okay. A standard is a yes. Okay, and I will show that on my screen. So, lesson number 1, a standard is a yes. So that means that when you have standards, these are things that you set not only for yourself, but for others. You have standards for yourself where you say, okay, well, I will never leave the house with a bonnet on my head. I'm going to always make sure that I'm presentable when I'm walking out of the house in some kind of way, form, or fashion. That's a standard. That's a personal standard that you set for yourself. Now, I have a list here that I got offline, and this is an actual list of standards and boundaries. So I'm not going to read the boundary side because we're talking about standards right now, but here's an example of what a standard is. Okay, a standard for a man must have the basics. He must have a job, his own place, and be able to support himself. And whatever standard that you give to the man, make sure you fit that standard yourself. You see how that works? So if he got to have a job, you got to have a job. If he got to have his own place, you got to have your own place. If he got to be able to support himself, you got to be able to support yourself. So don't set standards that you cannot meet yourself. That is another rule of thumb. Another example, you might say, okay, you want to be in a career that you enjoy. You set another standard for yourself. You don't go on coffee or drive-by dates. A lot of women set that standard for themselves. It's a reasonable standard. Another standard, he must demonstrate integrity. So if you want him to demonstrate integrity, you also must demonstrate integrity. It's a two-way street. So once again, we're not putting standards on anyone that we ourselves cannot uphold. You don't want them to have a criminal record, and you don't want them to use drugs. So I see a lot of guys being hypocrites with this. Now, on the one hand, they'll say, I don't want a woman that smokes, but they themselves smoke. And so it kind of, makes the woman not take him seriously, because we both adults. You not my daddy. See, parents could probably pull that off because minors cannot smoke. So if a minor goes to their parents and say, well, mom, dad, I see you smoking. How come I can't smoke? Well, the answer is simple. I'm your mother. I'm an adult. You're a child. When you get to be an adult, then you can do what you want to do. You can smoke too. But right now, while you're a child, you can't smoke. But see, when men do that to another grown woman, they set standards that they themselves don't uphold. It seems very hypocritical. So that's the reason why I use this as an example of being a hypocrite with your standards. Don't be a hypocrite with your standards. If you don't want somebody that smokes, you don't smoke either. If you don't want somebody with a criminal record, you shouldn't have a criminal record. If you don't want anyone with kids, you shouldn't have kids. You see how that goes? So standards are yeses. Now let's talk a little bit about boundaries. Let me go back to my banners. Now, boundaries are different than what standards are. Boundaries are no. So I'm going to change that. Boundaries are no. Standards are yes. Boundaries are no. So here's an example of what boundaries are. No last minute dates. You see the no right in front of that? No calls after 11 p.m. No Netflix and chill dates. No sex before commitment. So you see how the boundaries are a little bit different. Boundaries are what people cannot do to you. Standards are what you will allow. You understand what I'm saying? So standards are yes, boundaries are no. Another boundary, I will not tolerate verbal abuse. I will not date anyone still in a relationship with someone else. And I think that this is a good boundary because it protects you from drama. I will not play the role of mother in my relationships. So you got some guys looking for a mama. You got some men looking for a therapist. You're not their mother. You're not their therapist. And so you set a boundary that states this. Another boundary: I will not date someone who disrespects me in any way, verbally or physically. Cheating, all signs of disrespect. See, once again, boundaries are what you will not put up with. Boundaries are the no. I will not chase anyone for love, affection, or attention. Now, this is my personal boundary. I think I mentioned this on many different occasions. I do not go after men. I do not approach men, nor will I fight a woman over a man. If the man at any time is distracted by another woman and he looks like he wants to be somewhere else, I will let him go. And that is my personal boundary. That's what I'm not going to allow to happen to myself. I will not pursue anyone who is emotionally unavailable. So these are your no's. Your boundaries are your no's. This is what you will not allow. Your standards are your yes. And there's a difference. Setting standards without setting boundaries is hustling backwards. And I've said this before. If you have all these standards, but you don't have the boundaries to back up the standards, it's just like having law without having law enforcement. So now the law says you can't steal. So that's a standard. Do not steal, right? But then there's no actual enforcement of the law. So someone comes and steals from you, you have no enforcement of the law. There's no penalty. So ladies, you have to lay down your law, which is what you will and what you won't accept. Your yeses in life. That's your law. And then you have to have your boundary, which is the enforcement of the law. Setting standards without having the boundaries, which is the enforcement of your standards, is hustling backwards. If you do not enforce your standards mean nothing. It just means that you're saying no coffee dates. And then someone shows up anyway and says, oh, I don't have money to take you out. So, I just wanted to go over here and just sit and chit chat with you at Starbucks. If you do not enforce your standard of not wanting a coffee date, then your standard is useless. So the boundary is the no. So someone comes to you with that mess. What do? You got to stand firm and you enforce your boundary. No. No is a powerful word. And see, we as women, we have been taught to be people pleasers. We have been taught that it's impolite to say no. It is not impolite to enforce your boundaries. Your boundaries, that is the enforcement of your standards, which is the law. You want to enforce the laws of your land. So this is the reason why having standards and boundaries and them working together, this is why they're important. Standards without boundaries is hustling backwards, ladies. So I stated earlier that a classy lady would never ever leave the house looking disheveled. That is actually a good standard to have for yourself, because there is nothing more tacky than a woman that leaves the house and she don't care what she look like. She just put the slippers on, still got her pajamas on, ain't even washed up, and got the curlers in her hair with the bonnet, and she rushing out, and people are seeing you like this. Now, the only time something like that is acceptable is when there is an emergency situation and you ain't got time to be messing around with no hair, no makeup, and clothes and stuff like that. That's the only time. But if at all possible, you do have a little bit of time to put your hair up in a decent bun, slap some water on you, put a little lip gloss on your lips, get the sleep out your eyes, put on some presentable clothes, and at least walk out the house looking presentable. Classy women never leave the house looking disheveled. If at all possible, you try to leave the house looking decent at all times. Miss P asks, where can we locate this document? It is called, hold on a second. It is called A Guide That Shows the Difference Between Boundaries and Standards. It's called Cool. It's in a place called Cool Guides. So if you type in a guide that shows the difference between boundaries and standards, you'll be able to find this list of boundaries versus standards. Boundaries are your no, standards are your yes. Not cool guys. I'm sorry. I talk a little bit with a lisp. Guide with an S at the end. Guides. Yes, guide for standards and boundaries. Yes, Miss P. And it really is a cool guide, by the way. Like I said, I read a lot of self-help literature, and I find a lot of this stuff to be interesting and helpful, especially great teaching aids. Another thing is that a classy lady always keeps up her self-care regimen. So, if you don't have a good skin regimen, get one. Of course, a good skin regimen includes drinking your water. Water is really, really a beauty potion. Keeps you hydrated, keeps your skin soft and glowing. Absolutely, Miss P. I'll be happy to. Classy women also make sure that their hair is healthy. Like, even if you like to wear the wigs and the lace fronts, because I do too. I love my wigs. I love my lace fronts, but I do not neglect my own hair. So I'm not going to be pulling my wig and my lace front off and be bald head underneath. I'm going to have a healthy head of hair, a healthy scalp, a clean scalp. Clean, clean, clean. Moisturized, conditioned, taken care of hair that belongs to me. So there's that. And of course, the keeping up of the nails and the toes. Now, me in particular, I don't particularly like those long nails, but as long as your nails are clean, manicured, nicely polished, that is what keeping up with your self-care embodies. It embodies you loving you enough to make sure that you keep you looking healthy as possible. See, self-care isn't just about the look, but it's actually healthy to keep your hair in good condition and your nails in good condition, your skin in good condition. And classy women don't overdo it. And when I say overdoing it, I'm talking about, with the hair and the makeup and so on and so forth. You do not have to overdo it. And especially if you're a darker skinned black woman, and this is not no colorist stuff, because I see some beautiful light complexion women too. But with dark skinned women, less is actually more for us. We already have different hues to our skin as darker skinned women, where we don't really have to put on a lot of foundation. Just a little bit, just a little. We don't have to put on a lot of eye makeup, just a little. And the softer shades of red actually work better with our dark tones. So the brighter shades, if the darker you are, the brighter the shade, the worse it looks on you. But a softer shade of red is beautiful. So with a classy lady, the classy lady does not overdo things. We don't overdo our makeup. I see a lot of women running out here and they got all this different color on their eyes and the highlighting of the cheekbones and everything else. And it looks so unnatural. They running around here looking like clowns. I hear the Ringling Brothers circus music every time I see some of these women. And then what makes it even worse, they go and color their hair orange, pink, green, yellow, and they be out here looking like clowns. Now some women, even, they're able to pull off a sexy clown look, but you just look like a sexy clown. You're overdoing it. It doesn't take all of that. But, if that's what you like, I don't, try to tell anybody what to do. But for me, I just think that it's tacky. It's overdoing it. What that screams to me is I need some type of attention and some type of validation. And you're going to get attention and you're going to get validation. But once again, remember, there's negative validation and there's positive validation. And there are people that will outright lie to you. I have seen women out here looking utterly ridiculous with orange hair, super long lashes, cakes of makeup, and other women will send you off and say, "Ooh, girl, that is so, oh wow, you really doing it." They'll sit up there and gaslight you. But I'm here to tell you, when I see stuff like that, it looks like it's overdone, like you're trying too hard. That's how it comes across. Trying too hard. So classy women don't overdo it. We don't try too hard, and we understand that less is more. And as I stated earlier with the list of boundaries, classy women don't approach or run after men. Classy women do not fight over men, nor do they try to come between another woman and her man. And see, this is very important because in this day and age where we have the proud side chicks, we have a class of women that pretty much try to promote ratchet behavior. So they go and they promote ratchetness. They're in the ratchet category. They're not ladies, they're ratchets. And they try to glorify and glamorize ratchet behavior as being boss status. So with my series, Better Class of Women, I want to change the definition of what the ratchets call boss status, because they really think they out here getting money. They really think they out here running the world, conquering the world with their vagina. But what they're really out here doing is looking bad. They're looking like 304s. And nobody is taking them serious. That is partially the reason why I believe a lot of men don't even take marriage seriously, because of the way that women carry themselves today. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being a modern woman, but we define what modern woman is. You can be a modern woman without being ratchet. I consider myself a modern woman. I do not do the same things that my mother and my grandmother did. Now, me, as far as being a modern woman, it's not me sitting up here saying that, oh, I'm going to conquer the world with my vagina. I'm going to get money by any means necessary. I'm going to put a price tag on my body. I'm going to go out here and be the best side chick I can be. And I'm going to take this woman's husband, and I'm going to feel as if that's an accomplishment. And if I can get a man to take care of me and pay all my bills, like, that is not being a modern woman, guys. It's not. That's being a ratchet woman. That's the reason why I said there has to be a line drawn in the sand. You can be a modern classy lady, or you can be a modern ratchet lady. There's a difference. And see, I want you to boldly say, hey, sis, we ain't the same. Because there's nothing wrong with that. I'm definitely not the same as the woman that does those things. You have grandmothers out here who are modern grandmothers that are cam models. Shout out to Reaction Satisfaction. Check out his latest video. But these modern grandmothers are out here webcam modeling it up, taking their pants down for the gram, showing their naked booty. And lo and behold, the grandchild is in the background watching the whole thing. These are the modern ratchet grandmothers. Now, I consider myself to be a modern grandmother, but not in that way. So that is the reason why I said you got to draw the line in the sand, and you cannot let the ratchet women define themselves along with you. Because if you allow that, then there will be a blurred line between you and ratchetness. And so then this is the reason why we have a lot of men out here treating all women the same, because they can't distinguish the difference. We have allowed ourselves and we have aligned ourselves with other women who are not like us, because we want to be nice. We don't want to judge. We don't want to make anybody feel as if we're better than them. And I'm sorry, but there is a better. You are a better class of woman than the grandmother that would pull her pants down for the gram, shake her booty in front of the camera while the grandchildren are watching. Can we at least acknowledge that? Yes, Reaction Satisfaction. They nasty. Hey, Sister George. You guys check out Sister George and Concrete Rose on the breakdown a woman's perspective. So yes, we definitely need to draw that line in the sand, ladies. There is no shame. Also, classy women, we're not cheap. Okay. And that's the other thing that I want to set the record straight. Just because you are not a woman that puts a dollar sign on her vagina doesn't mean that you're cheap. We're not cheap, but we're not for sale either. A lady is not a prostitute. But at the same time, we're not cheap. Now, the man that I'm with, when we first started dating, he wanted to impress me. So he took me to Michelin 3 restaurants. I'm talking about where the food, the bill for two people would be no less than $300, sometimes $400. We would go on crazy inventive dates, helicopter rides, indoor skydiving, virtual reality tours, just fun stuff. And as a classy women are never behind on their bills. You're not strapped for cash like that, sis. If you're a classy lady and you have all these set standards and boundaries for men, and one of your standards is he has to have his own place, he has to be able to take care of himself, then you don't set a standard for him that you also cannot meet yourself. So make sure you have your own place and you're able to afford your own bills. If you want him to have good credit, you have good credit. So while you're going out with him, you're demonstrating to him that you are a responsible woman. But if you always got your hand out, if you're always behind on a bill, if you're always about to get evicted, what that demonstrates to the man is that he can't take you seriously. Classy women receive gifts. For Christmas, my man bought me an entire shoe collection. It was very expensive. I get all kinds of nice gifts from my man. Very nice gifts. And classy ladies, if you're with a man that you really, really like, that you really, really feel in, and you have a good connection with, you can see a future with him, you don't mind giving him gifts in return. Classy women reciprocate. You reciprocate. That is the reason why you find most women who are classy, they're married or engaged, because men appreciate a woman that has those characteristics. You're responsible, you're beautiful, you keep your looks up, you carry yourself like a lady, you're fun, easy to be with, you don't bring a lot of drama, confusion, you're not a leech, but at the same time, you're not cheap. And you can appreciate the finer things in life. And men like to see that. They like to see that you know the difference between a Michelin 3 restaurant and Applebee's. They like to see that you know the difference between a Michael Kors and a knockoff Dooney and Burke. So, being able to enjoy the finer things in life, that is something that classy women do. But at the same time, you're not a leech, you're not a parasite. And men who enjoy taking care of their lady, they will slip in and do certain things for you. Like my man has slipped in and paid my car note before. My man have slipped in and given me extra money to get my hair and nails done. These are men that enjoy taking care of their woman. So if they see that you're already doing that for yourself, they want to impress you by slipping in and helping you out with that every now and then. And they do it without you having to even ask. Now, if you ever find yourself in a position where you have to ask your man to do stuff like that, then he's not a provider. And you're not going to make him be a provider. It's not in him. Move on. Classy ladies know how to read the room, and they know how to pretty much see the signs. Signs that he wants to care for you and that he wants to provide for you and do things for you would be things like that. Because most classy men appreciate classy women. And they appreciate what you got going on. And they show you that by offering you those gifts. And they do it without you having to say anything, because they're always wanting to see you smile. They're always wanting to put a smile on your face and surprise you with something. My guy is always surprising me. Whether it be small things like a huge bouquet waiting for me at my front door. I didn't ask for it, but it brightened my day. And he knows I like flowers. Or he knows that I like to get my hair and my nails done. So next thing I know, I'm getting the Cash App and he's saying, hey, for the nails and the hair. And it's out of nowhere and it brightens my day. Or he may call me up and say, hey, what are your plans this weekend? And I'll say something like, well, I didn't have anything planned. Next thing I know, he's got a whole weekend excursion planned. And he's doing these things without me having to ask. Hermes Attic, Ocean 44, Hell's Kitchen. There are a lot of really top-notch Michelin 3 restaurants that you can take your lady out on a date. And last but not least, about the standards and the boundaries, I want to circle back to the fact that classy ladies set standards and they back those standards up with boundaries. Your standards are your yes, your boundaries are your no's. The standards are the law, the boundaries are the enforcement of your law. Having standards without boundaries is hustling backwards. I cannot stress this enough. Now, there are a couple of more charts that I want to share with you. Let me see, which one is this? Okay, so this is the wounded woman versus the awakened woman. And so in this chart, under the wounded woman, this is the chart in red. I'm just going to read off some of the bullet points for wounded woman. The wounded woman is afraid to speak her truth. The wounded woman lacks self-worth. She seeks external validation all the time. Now, like I said, external validation is important, but it's only 30%. You should have more internal validation that you give yourself, than external validation. So the wounded woman seeks external validation. The wounded woman is overly people pleasing. Remember, we talked about being a people pleaser. Classy ladies are not people pleasers. We are thoughtful, but at the same time, we are not doormats. We are not people pleasers. The wounded woman struggles to set boundaries. Remember, I said your standards are your yes. That's the law, and your boundaries are your no. That's the enforcement of your standards. And if you struggle to enforce your standards with boundaries, you are struggling backwards. That means that if you say that you want a man that makes a certain amount of money, like he can't make under $50,000, but then you end up with the guy that work at Mickey D's. You are not enforcing your standards with your boundary. So the boundary is the enforcement. So once again, the wounded woman struggles to do this. She struggles to enforce her boundaries or enforce her standards with the boundaries. The wounded woman apologizes for who she is. Remember when I first started the series and I said you have to be the unapologetic, classy lady. There are going to be ratchet women that try to shame you for being a classy lady, for wanting to be a lady, for even wanting to be better. She will try to shame you and make you apologize for wanting better. Only the wounded woman apologizes for who she is. The wounded woman has negative self-talk. Remember, I told you about validating yourself. You have to have positive self-talk. If you always have a hater living inside of you, hating on everything you do, you're always hard on yourself. Oh, I'm ugly. Oh, why did I say that? That was so stupid. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. If you keep telling yourself these things, you are giving yourself negative reinforcement on a regular basis. You have to learn how to give yourself a break. If you made a mistake, tell yourself, you know what? That's okay. I'm only human. I'll do better next time. I'll chalk that up as a learning experience. I'm beautiful in my own way. Nobody else looks like me. I am unique and wonderful and beautiful. This is my flavor. This is my brand of beauty. Nobody can replicate it. I am authentically me and proud. You have to give yourself positive talk. Wounded women they give themselves negative self-talk all the time, 24/7. So you have to really catch yourself. Because I know I used to do it all the time. I used to be a wounded woman and I gave myself negative talk all the time. And I had to catch myself and I had to redirect my thinking to be more positive with myself and to give myself a break, not to be so hard on myself. The wounded woman compares herself to other women and views them as a threat. Now, contrary to popular belief, there are a lot of so-called boss chicks that will sit up and compare themselves to the classy lady. And because they don't understand the classy lady, because they don't see themselves as her, and because they are threatened by the respect that she gets from others in the community, they compare themselves to the classy lady. Well, she out here effing for free. They don't even know if you're effing at all. But to make themselves feel good, they'll say she giving it up for free. She a stupid woman. At least I'm getting paid for mine. And so these women will constantly, in a catty way, be comparing themselves to another woman. These are wounded women. There is a difference. So once again, the wounded woman compares herself to other women and views them as a threat. And then they will turn around and try to take you down. That's where you get the cattiness. Yeah. The claws start coming out because they're threatened. Now, let's go and look at the list in the purple of the awakened woman. The awakened woman honors her truth, while the wounded woman is afraid to speak her truth. So while the awakened woman honors her truth, that means that she acknowledges her mistakes. She loves herself, flaws and all. So she honors her truth and she's not afraid to speak her truth. So if she used to be a sex worker, she's going to be honest with herself and honor her truth. And she's going to say, hey, I used to do this and I saw how it was ruining my life. I saw the downward spiral that I was going through. And so I decided to change and be better and become a better class of woman. And ever since then, I have been tracking good. That is a woman that honors her truth. She's not afraid to speak her truth and her reality. And even if she's not there yet, she could say, hey, you know what? I used to be a drug addict and I'm still struggling with drugs. But I acknowledge that the place that I'm in right now is not where I want to be. And so I am going to course correct myself and I am going to try to be better. Honoring your truth, acknowledging yourself, even in your wrong, that makes you an awakened woman. Because acknowledgement is the first step. Honor your truth. Don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to be truthful and honest with yourself. Second thing, the awakened woman knows her worth. So knowing your worth isn't just putting a price tag on your body. See, a lot of women with the scarcity mindset, with the ratchet mindset, they will sit up here and say, well, my body is worth thus and so. No, you are priceless. There is no price that you can put on yourself. When you begin to put a price on yourself, you become a slave. You're sitting up there at the auction block. You're putting yourself on the auction block when you do that. Know your worth. Know that you are priceless, and it's going to take a hell of a man to take you off the market. Now, when I was before I got into the relationship with the man that I was in, I don't know if you guys recall listening to my different videos where I was sitting up here and I was talking about how happy I was being single, and I was just going about my life, and I was just happy. I was happy and whole. And I said, yeah, I'm so damn happy. It'll take a hell of a man to make me even think twice. And a hell of a man came into my life because I knew my worth. And I knew it to be priceless. And so I met a man that treats me like the rare and priceless gem that I am, because that's what I embody. The awakened woman is validated from within. Like I said, these are bullet points that come from psychologists and specialists. So when I tell you that I went through a series of treatments, it took me many, many steps to get to where I am, the mindset that I am now. But I validate from within. I am the awakened woman. You also can be the awakened woman. Validate yourself from within. External validation is okay, but it is the internal validation that will keep you honoring your truth and knowing your worth, knowing that you are valuable, because you understand how to validate yourself. And you give yourself positive validation, not negative validation. Because there are some people that deep down inside, they prize things that are negative and toxic. So if you constantly find yourself praising yourself for doing negative and toxic things, that is not a good form of validation, whether it be internal or external. So make sure when you're validating yourself that it is positive validation. The awakened woman inspires others to shine. That is the reason why I came out with the series, because I want to see other women be better. I want to see you shine. And so we should, as Black women, be inspiring and empowering each other in a positive way. The awakened woman sets healthy boundaries. Once again, healthy being the operative word. Negative boundaries, that's also hustling backwards. So a healthy boundary would be if you are a single mother and you have small children. I will not date any men that I can't bring home to my children. And while I'm dating and my children are small, I will not bring anybody to my house to meet my children. Those are healthy boundaries. Your boundaries, once again, are your no, what you will not allow someone to do, what you will not do. So setting healthy boundaries is a must. Standards without boundaries is hustling backwards. The awakened woman lives unapologetically. Once again, you are proud of being a classy lady. You are proud of being a conservative woman. You are proud of being a lady unapologetically. And you do not care who doesn't like it. You are not here to please anyone else. What they think of what you think about yourself is irrelevant. You do not need anyone's permission. Be an unapologetic classy lady, an unapologetic conservative woman, because I'm telling you, if we can have proud hoes and proud side chicks, then God damn it, you can be a proud conservative woman. And don't let anyone shame you and tell you anything otherwise. The awakened woman speaks gently to herself. Once again, that negative self-talk where you're always putting yourself down, the awakened woman doesn't do that. She's gentle with herself. Ladies, learn how to give yourself a break. Be gentle with yourself. If you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. Be gentle with yourself. Say, I made a mistake, but next time I'll just chalk this up as a learning experience. I'm smart enough to learn from my mistakes and move forward. Be gentle with yourself. See what I did just there? I gave myself an affirmation. I called myself smart. I'm smart enough to learn from my mistakes. And I acknowledge that I made a mistake. And then I acknowledge that I need to move forward and do better. That's how you speak gently to yourself. And last but not least, the awakened woman embodies her divine goddess and encourages other women to rise with her. Like I said, I don't try to tell people what to do. I don't try to tell people how to be, but I can encourage you. I can inspire you to do better and rise with me if you so choose. And it's a choice. That's what being an inspiration is. That's what being a person that encourages positive things does. I'm not going to give you negative validation. You're going to get positive validation so that you do positive things. And hopefully that will inspire you to be better. And there is better out there. This is one of the few steps to becoming a better class of woman. A better class of women, they set their standards, which is their yes, and they enforce their standards with their boundaries, which is their no. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. I'm an hour and 14 minutes in. This has been the Faith Factor, and you have been listening to A Better Class of Women. I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. Please like the stream. Please share the stream, and also make sure that you join my channel membership and subscribe. Make sure you tell all your friends about this channel, and make sure you go forth and you be inspiring. You go forth and you be the best woman that you can be. You be a better class of woman. And with that, I'm going to say, peace. I love all of you, and I'm out.